Brunello, the wizard's trying. Five stride is coming at him. Muera grabbed by Ronaldo, the wizard. And he's won. The wizard's done it again. Brunello, the wizard, has beaten the great guns. Erdogel in front of Caspian Prince. The Happy Prince battling back on the inside. Erdogel's back. Erdogel first, the Happy Prince second.
And we're back. Welcome everyone to another UAE Racing Podcast. I believe this is episode 4. We are here with the two very special guests, Mr. Callum Maddow and Gary Capewell. If you'd like to say hello.
Hello.
Wonderful. We're going to start off with the Al Maktoum Challenge Round 2. We're going to go to Analysing Arabians with Mr. Capewell straight away. If you'd like to start us off, please.
Yeah, unusually there's quite a small field for this race. Obviously, it's over the longest distance that they race at Meydan on the dirt. Versat PY has been second in this race 3 times in the past. The 10-year-old, he's making his seasonal debut. He hasn't been seen since finishing 5th in the Kayala Classic. I think the old boy's very much entitled to need the run. RB Dixie Burning's got a great strike rate, 7 from 8. Proved the other day at Al Ain that this is her first run on the dirt, or although I should say she's run Al Ain before. That was when it was a different surface. So how she'll handle the dirt is no idea. Sniper Damon now very consistent. Never been out the first 2 in his career. Stays well as well, which could prove crucial. And he is the highest rated in the race, and he's also won on dirt now. He beat Falcon Delou by 2 lengths at Al Ain last time out. But Hadassah is very much going to be the one to beat, really, even though he's not the highest rated in the lineup. Obviously, he won round 3 of the Al Maktoum Challenge last year. I mean, if ever there was a horse that was made for this surface, just looking at him, I mean, he's a Majani. He's a 3-time Kayala Classic winner, obviously, of course. But just his action is just perfect for the surface. I don't think he particularly likes the kickback, though, so the smaller field will actually help him. Obviously, he was 4th in the Kayala Classic after he broke the track record, winning round 3 of the Al Maktoum Challenge last year, and he won in Turkey on his only run since the Kayala Classic. I think obviously everything is being geared around coming back here, and I think running in round 2 rather than round 3 to give him a bit more time in between his races is probably a good idea. So Jim Crowley, it'll be the first time that he's ridden him, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on with him. If there's to be an upset, actually it'll come from the other Hamdan runner, Bombetta. I have to get this pronunciation right because I used to get a bit of a telling off from the ex who told me I always used to pronounce this one wrong. Bombeza the Faust. She always used to give me a rollicking when he was running in the UK when I was calling him wrong. But again, the smaller field will actually help him, and he looks all about stamina as well. He's another Majani. So I know he was well beaten in round 1 of the Al Maktoum Challenge. He was beaten for sort of 14 lengths, but he'd won for the first time out in the UAE on his run prior to that over at this track over 9.5 furlongs. Up in trip will definitely help him, and the fact that it's a smaller field means that he won't be getting as much kickback in his face like he did in round 1. He didn't have much chance really from his draw. So if there's to be an upset, it'll come from him. He could be an okay price. It's a shame we've not got the dead 8, but Hadassah should win.
All right. I like that a lot. You can't beat that. He obviously knows what he's talking about. Who are you going in for this one, Callum?
Well, Cavis took the words out of my mouth, really. So I think we'll stick with what we said, really.
We said, okay. Yeah, I had Hadassah to win this one as well, obviously. I know Tygo Shade loves Dixie Burning, so she might be one to follow, but not in a Group 1 like this. Yes, we'll move swiftly on to the second race.
Move on.
Yeah. Thoroughbred handicap here. Over 12 furlongs. Kahusi goes well fresh normally, and he's 2 from 3 for the current trainer Ali Rashid Al Rahi. Should have him fit. Any you particularly liking this one, Callum?
I thought Prize Money was the obvious one to start with, really. A horse that last year he was quite a bit of a playboy early on in his career. I mean, he's got some really good form. He was second to the Eclipse winner Hawkbill in the Tercentini at Royal Ascot, and then the 2 things that really helped him when he won the November handicap last time was he'd been gelded beforehand and a first-time hood, which he settled really well, and he got a really good ride by a good claimer as well, to be fair. But now that he's shown that he can settle, and I think he can progress further. I know he's off top weight up a mark of 113. He's given 1.5 kilos to the rest of the field, but he could easily be a group horse at the Carnival this year. Could easily see him run something like, I think the Al Shiba Trophy might be the next option, but something like the Dubai City of Gold as well. I think that's potentially his sort of race, so I'd be expecting him to go very close in this sort of company. Gold Trail's a similar horse that won last time at Doncaster when he was last seen, but that was a much weaker race than what Prize Money won. It was a race that kind of fell apart quite a bit. I know he won by 5 lengths and he's only gone up £5, but it's not the strongest of form. So I think Kahusie's probably the main danger. You could argue he's still slightly underrated off that mark of 106, given the impression he made in such a quick start for Ali Al Rahi last year, winning both his starts at Abu Dhabi. And he didn't disgrace at all in between here. I think he'll get the trip. I don't know if it's going to be a real strong test, so it should suit him to get the trip. And it's only an extra furlong anyway. And I think he can be in the main danger. And certainly at the early prices, he's a massive price, because there's quite a few others that I would have concerns about. Trip, Elaval and Good Trip in particular. I don't think Good Trip stayed when he ran here behind Goldenwood 3 weeks ago. Good effort since behind Elham, which is a race that Elaval ran really well in. And he's handicapped to go well, but I'd be worried about him at the trip. I don't think he stays it. So I think Prize Money's the one to beat, and I think Kahusi can reward each way value, definitely.
All right, I get it. I understand that. Desert God was one you liked last time. Gary, do you like him again this time?
Well, the same problem with what happened with him last time. There was no pace in that race, which didn't help him, and I don't really see where the pace is going to come from here, to be honest. Gold Trail possibly might lead. He has been prominent in his races before, but I struggle to see where the pace is going to come from. And like a lot of these turf races at the track, I can see it developing into a bit of a sprint. Prize Money is obviously the one to beat, as Callum pointed out. He settled a lot better in the first time hood when he wore that at Doncaster in the November handicap. He likes quick ground as well, so that'll help. He's very much the one to beat. I much prefer him to Gold Trail, I must admit, even though Gold Trail could potentially get a soft lead. Just looking at the prices that we've got in front of us now, the only bet I could see was Kushuzi each way, because this horse, he's 2 from 3 out in the UAE. He's won at Abu Dhabi on 2 occasions over 11 furlongs. Obviously, it's the other way round, but ground conditions are just as quick. And he beat Rembrandt van Rijn in that Group 3 of the Abu Dhabi Championship on his final outing last year. Now, he's been off obviously since then, but he's with a yard that get them ready first time out. He's got a good record fresh. At 12 to 1, I don't understand why he's bigger in the market. I know Elival's very consistent, but he just doesn't win, I'm afraid. So at 12 to 1, he'd be the each way call for me. Again, I know we mentioned Desert God last time, but I just don't see the race being run to suit him again. Good Trip, perhaps, likewise, albeit that was a bit better last time out when he was second behind El Hami. But I think this is perhaps a slightly better race than those towards the top. As Callum pointed out, Prize Money in particular could easily end up being group class, and it'd be interesting to see where he does end up, because there's plenty of races for him.
Yeah. Personally, I think Rembrandt van Rijn's going to come through and take the lead. He did.
Woof.
Yeah, you say that, but he's down in Trip now, and I think that's going to help him massively. I don't think he just saw out the Trip against Red Galileo.
Well, he was behind Kushuzi in that Abu Dhabi Championship. That was his first start out in the UAE last year. He cost a hell of a lot of money for current connections after he rattled off that sequence for Damien Lanigan in the UK. But I thought he wasn't it? I thought he should. I thought he should have won on his last outing.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Obviously, I like Kasusi. You have to look at him because of his Group 3. It was the President's Cup, wasn't it?
Let me check. It might have been the Abu Dhabi Championship, actually, at the end of the season.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a championship. Apologies, I should have known that. But, yeah, he done it nice enough. Munasa hasn't really franked the form in the race, and the form's not overly strong, I think. Yeah, as you say, Prize Money, but he's up £6 here, which might hinder him. And coming over from the UK might hinder him as well. So Sumionons for Side Binstrel's obviously a plus there straight away. But for me, I'm going to choose Rembrandt van Rijn myself. You're both going for Prize Money and then Kasusi, so yeah?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the prices we've got now, I probably wouldn't back Prize Money at the price that he is, but I would back Kasusi each way.
Roger that. We're going to move on to the Al Rashida Group 2. It's a 9 furlong race for thoroughbreds, obviously. There's a good winner in here, in Like the Lights. He won over course and distance in Singspiel last time. How do you think he'll fare in this one, Gary?
Well, he's the one to beat, isn't he? Mike de Kock's got a great record in this race. He's won the last 5 renewals. He's first ran in 2000. This race, he's won half the renewals. He's won 8 of them. So he obviously knows the type of horse that is needed to win this race. He's the only horse that Mike de Kock that's won on his seasonal return thus far as well, when he won the Singspiel Stakes, just getting up to beat Championship. Obviously, that form took a bit of a boost last week with Championship winning the listed or Group 3, whatever race it was on the card last week over 7 furlongs. So he's very much the one to beat. I expect better from Gabriel, who was well behind Like the Lights on his first run out of the Carnival, but he was beaten in a fair way. He's better than that, but he's just so inconsistent sometimes. Can be a bit difficult to predict. Farrier, the old boy, finished second behind Fitzgerald on his seasonal return. He was second in the Jebel Hatter last year, Farrier. He was obviously much better known as a Jebel Ali horse, but I don't think there's a lot of strength in depth in this, to be perfectly honest. Earnshaw was third in the Singspiel State. Was actually third in this race last year, but again, isn't easy to predict. Elite Excalibur ran in a handicap last time out, could improve on that effort, but definitely needs to. Promising Run finished, he was placed a couple of times at the Carnival last year. He can lead in his races as well. The cheap pieces go on him for the first time. Her for the first time, rather, I should say. And she did win at Turkey, or in Turkey at the big September meeting there. I thought the one that might be interesting, though, from an each-way point of view, is the Francois Rojo trained Mr. Owen, who actually ran in the Hunt Cup last year. Was then highly tried after that, ran in some Group 3s, was placed behind Vadamos on a couple of occasions, and wasn't beaten that far behind Tepin, only 2 1/4 lengths behind Tepin in the Woodbine Mile. A winner at Deauville on his most recent outing in listed company back over 9.5 furlongs back in November. I thought he might be the each-way play because we have got the dead 8 to go for. I'm not sure what sort of price he'll be, but hopefully he'll be an each-way sort of price and he'll be the each-way pit. But Like the Lights is very much the one to beat.
He's 4-1 with Paddy's at the moment, Mr. Owen. So I'm not sure if you want to take that each way, but
not getting a lot of value there.
No. I did like him as well myself. Dual listed winner in France, and Mr. Rohat knows what he's doing out in Dubai, obviously. Was you impressed with Like the Lights last time, Callum?
Yeah, I was really impressed actually, mainly because you don't really expect these horses to be fully fit and wound up for Mike de Kock coming off such layoffs, but he clearly had a good preparation towards it, and he won really nicely, especially with Championship Frank in the form since, and Championship very much had his own way that day as well. For all he probably didn't quite see out 9 furlongs, but either way you look at that form, it looks really strong, and I don't think Championship is probably better than the rest of this opposition that he's got to face in this, and if Like the Lights is going to be fit, even more fit after that run, and surely he will do, then I think he's going to take the world of beating. So do I really want to take him at, I think, 11 to 10 here? He deserves to be that price, but I certainly wouldn't be taking it. Mr. Owen, I know you guys, by the sounds of it, you like him. He's quite a tricky horse. He's a hold-up performer that would need a good gallop, I think. So I know there's not that much pace. He's not crying out there's that much pace in this race. It could be quite messy. So I'd be happy enough to take him on for. I do always fear Francois Rohat's runners abroad because he's such a good trainer. Promising Run with cheap pieces on. I could see her potentially chasing home Like the Lights, maybe, or something like Elite Excalibur, who has stayed 10 furlongs in Australia, or at least ran, I think, 4th or 5th in one of the derbies over 10 furlongs, or the Guineas. But obviously, most of his form has been ever slightly shorter. Looking at the current prices, I would probably back Farrier each way, to be honest, at 20 to 1. He's a horse that, when in these sort of races where you're not really sure who's going to be chasing home maybe a leading light, then he's the one that can pick up the pieces. He did it in the Jebel Hatter, and he keeps doing it. I think he's done it before on the dirt as well. He'd exceeded expectations. Maybe he's just a horse that is getting better with age, and you're basically getting 4-5 to 1 on him to place in an 8-runner field. I think that's very fair. So I'd probably back him each way at 20 to 1 if that kind of sticks around. But from a betting point of view, bar that, it wouldn't be a race I'd be getting strongly involved in, because I think Like the Lights will win, but he's not a big price.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. For the competition, I'm going to have to go with Like the Lights, but probably a race best left well alone. He's won his last 5, and De Kock brings them on ever so well, doesn't he? So I think 2 Like the Lights and 1 Mr. Owen, see? Yeah.
I think Like the Lights is the most likely winner, but I don't really see any sort of value now with Mr. Owen at 4-1. I was expecting a good bit bigger than that, to be honest. So it's a race to just watch, I think, now.
Alrighty. We'll move straight on to the UAE 2000 Guineas Trail, something I know Gary is looking forward to analysing ever so much. We got 4 Godolphin runners here: Best Solution, Flight Dawn, Top Score and Van der Decken. Personally, I like Best Solution after his run in the Criterium last time, and of course the race he beat Zane home in the Autumn Stakes was impressive for me. Another one to look at would possibly be Doug Watson's Cosmo Charlie. Made on a course and distance debut, should go better here. Whilst Sheikh Mohammed bin Khalifa Al Maktoum has 3 in the race, I believe, with Megnas, Mazid and Mufid. So I've just named about the entire lot. Anything you like here at all, Callum?
Well, this is a race that I changed my opinion on based on when I first saw the prices, really, because when I first looked through it, I was like, well, Best Solution's got clearly the best form in the field. He's a horse that he won the Autumn Stakes at Newmarket and then was second in the Criterium de Saint-Cloud, which is a Group 1 back in October. And you think, well, it's a clear best form on show. Yes, you could probably get him, he's got the dirt to prove. He's got a wide draw. He's down in trip. His last one was over 10 furlongs. This is over 7. It's clearly going to be a prep towards the 2000 Guineas and certainly the UAE Derby. And then, so I'm thinking, he's going to be a 2-1, 7-4 shot. And then I see he's open 5-1. And I think I'd probably chance him at that price. I know there's slight concerns about the draw, etc. But, he could absolutely smash these because he's a really smart horse. He's already proven that as a juvenile, and he's got much better form than all the Godolphin lot. That Van der Decken Flight Dawn form, I'm very happy to take on. I thought Van der Decken isn't a dirt horse. I thought he won quite nicely, showed a decent turn of foot against Flight Dawn, but I could easily see Flight Dawn overturning that form. And overall, I don't think the form is anything better than useful anyway. But Flight Dawn's more bred for dirt as well, and I think that was a little bit of a flash in the pan for Van der Decken myself. When I did the previews, I ended up tipping up Cosmo Charlie, just as I thought he might get an easy lead again, potentially, with a couple of them not proving themselves on dirt yet, and he's got an okay draw, but he's definitely going to be up there. The form of his maiden win's been franked by Capizano, who I would comfortably back in this, probably at sort of 9-2, which is the price Cosmo Charlie is. So he's the one I went for. So I'd probably stick with Cosmo Charlie, but at the current price, I'd have to have a bet on Best Solution as well. And at the moment, Van der Decken's 5-2, and that is just way too short. And I think that's a comfortable late at those sort of prices.
I know Best Solution's way out in the car park and still 14, but considering he's pretty much £8 better off than Van der Decken, I'm not sure how he's not favourite. But anyway, Gary, who do you like here?
Cosmo Charlie. I fail to see how he's not in the frame at the least. He went quicker, half a second quicker than Van der Decken and Fly at Dawn did. They both ran over the same course and distance, obviously. That was Cosmo Charlie's debut as well, of course. Now, he got out, he knew his job, but you've got to think he's going to have improved massively for the outing. And as like Callum said, I do actually think there's a lot of dead wood in here, to be perfectly honest. It's unusually a big field for this race. He could be out away and gone, really. Best Solution, I agree. I was happy to take him on because I thought he'd be favourite, but he's probably a little bit big at the current odds at 5-1. We should mention the cock horse as well. Megnas, a son of Asiatic Boy, of course, won this race, and indeed the UAE 2000 Guineas itself back in 2007 when it was staged at Nad Al Sheba. So he's bred to be going on this type of surface. It won't be an issue for him. But he obviously hasn't been seen for a good while. He won at Greyville back in January of last year, and you would imagine that he's likely to need the outing. So at the current odds, I just think Cosmo Charlie is very, very difficult to kick out of the frame, and I'd be disappointed because he might get a soft lead. I'd be disappointed if he I think he could easily hang on. So 9-2 looks a fair price to me.
Yeah. Is Megnas got 3.5 kilos more because he's a gelding?
No, because he's Southern Hemisphere.
He's Southern Hemisphere, so he's, yeah.
See, even I don't know some things. Anyway, yes, I do have to agree with the Cosmo Charlie. I think he'll try and make all, but just see how it goes. I don't know, I'm not overly sure if Best Solution will handle the dirt. That's one of my main worries. His pedigree doesn't overly scream it. He should. But possibly another one to watch would be Top Score 7-1. Not overly big, but from cracking yard, obviously, and the jockey Adri Devise does incredibly well round Meydan, of course. I've said that last time as well. We're going to move swiftly on to the Cape Verde, the Group 2, over a mile. Mufri Ha has been ever so impressive in Europe, and mainly on the all-weather tracks. What do you think of her chances in here, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a very strong renewal, to be perfectly honest. Shri and Rialtra at least make it slightly more interesting because they come here on the back of good wins. Mafria, obviously, she's won her last 3, 2 at Newmarket and 1 at Linkfield, but they've all come on the all-weather. Well, sorry, that last one came on the other 2 came at Newmarket, where it was an advantage for her to be prominent. Not completely convinced, to be perfectly honest. Rialtra was off for a good while before winning that listed race at Deauville, but the strength of that race I'm not just sure of. Tani got absolutely mullered in that handicap here the other day. Grade 3 winner in Argentina. She was only beaten 4 3/4 lengths, so she was running a massive race. I think it'd be interesting to see what price she is. Has anybody priced this one up, this race? I think she's 8-1, isn't she?
8-1.
But to be perfectly honest, I think they're all playing for places behind last year's winner, Very Special, who goes well fresh. Obviously won the Balanchine after this race last year. Finished a very fair 6th in the Dubai Turf, not beaten a massive amount, and was 2nd in the Falmouth on her only start in the UK last year. She gets an easy lead again. She's got the Plum Jaw in stall 1. I know she'll be short, but it's quite simple. I think she just simply wins. I think she'll be far too good for them. If there's to be an each-way angle, it's maybe Tahani, but I just think Very Special wins it again. Keep it simple.
That's good. Yeah, I like it. Tahani, Mike de Cook made a good point about her, saying that he would have. He's always said that there should be some sort of cut-off point, like we have in England with Kempton. There's a cut-off or cut-away. Sorry. Would that have helped her at all, do you think?
I think they might have tried something similar to that before. I don't know. I mean, they don't have that much turf racing there. I'm not sure it makes a huge difference, to be perfectly honest. They've tried these cutaways. They've tried it at Dundalk, and it completely changes the way that the races are run there now. You used to get truly run races. Now they go, because the bend's out further, they go a lot slower around the turn and then quicken away, and it's difficult to make up much ground, as it can often be, funny enough, on the turf course at Meydan anyway. But I don't know, I've never really seen it as a huge issue, to be honest.
Righty. Anyone you like in here, Callum, or are we going with Very Special as well?
Oh, I have to say, this race is usually garbage. I mean, it's usually got a horse that's 4-6 and clear of the rest, but I actually think there's some pretty decent fillies in this race, but saying that, I do think Very Special will take a hell of a lot of beating. She obviously won the Cape Verde and the Balanchine impressively last year, and then she went and proved that she could do it even away from Meydan. I mean, she ran a cracker in the Dubai Turf, and she probably kicked her home too early, and then ran a really good race in the Falmouth from last seen in July. No issues about her being fit. You know she's going to be fit and ready, or expect her to be fit and ready. It'd be silly if she wasn't, because this is a Group 2 that's there for the taking. I don't think he has to lead, and I don't think she'll need to. Well, I think she probably just wants to be handy. I don't think she has to be the one in front. So I think the Swedish horse might go forward. There's a few others. I think Mufarhar is also often makes the running. Rialtra is going to be up there. So talking about who's going to chase her home, basically, I think Rialtra's quite a big danger here. Actually, she looks like a different filly since she's moved to Roger Berry, and she's won 3 from 4. I was a bit disappointed she wasn't seen for the most of part of last year, because I thought she was one to really follow closely potentially last year, but she clearly had some sort of issue. Came back and won nicely at Deauville late last month, and I think she, back on turf, I think she could give Very Special a real race here, because I think she's at least a Group 2 filly for me, and Very Special is probably low grade Group 1 quality. Move for her, if she's ready, she's a danger, but I definitely prefer Rialtra out of the pair. And I think Tahani I prefer from Move for her as well, because Tahani was desperately unlucky in that handicap last time. So for me, it's Very Special. Rialtra is clear second best for me, and I think probably Tahani bar that. So it's probably a race I'll probably pay a few forecasts or something like that, with Very Special on top and Rialtra and Tahani with forecast and tricast.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I like Rialtra myself. She won really nicely at Deauville, and she defied a long enough absence. Obviously, Very Special is the one to watch here, so I'll probably go at the forecast out of those two and see if we can get anything out of those. But nice work. I didn't have to do much explaining at all. We'll go off to the Adcock and IPIC investment. It's it's a handicap over a mile. We have Munasir here, who ran all right enough, went 7th on the at Maidan last time. I'm just struggling to see how he's running like this, but you never know. He might come back to form at some point. Heavy Metal's been running well enough. Need to Know has been all right, but I think probably Heavy Metal would be the one here that I'd look at mostly, because of his run behind North America, where he was a length and a quarter behind him. Would he be your pick straight away in this one, Callum?
I think he's going to be thereabouts, definitely. I've got him finishing second, really, and I think on the early markets they've got it spot on. There's one horse that stands out a mile for me potentially here, which is Tumbaga, who was actually my main horse to follow for the Carnival last year, and obviously didn't turn up in any race, hasn't been seen since September 2015 when chasing home stablemate Thayer in one of the big Turkish races, the valuable Turkey races on the all-weather. Before then, he impressively won his first 2 starts for Saeed bin Suror. And before then, he was racing in dirt, actually on dirt at Santa Anita. He was twice went close in maidens for Owen Harty in he's 6 now, and this is only his 6th start, so he's clearly had some sort of issues, but it was an impressive start for bin Suror. He absolutely bolted up at Chelmsford in a handicap in June 2015. Then, like I said, that Velifendi run was good. He's bred to absolutely thrive on the dirt. He's bred to thrive in Dubai, really, and he could well do so. I think he still very much remains with potential, and I think we could be looking at 110 plus horse potentially if he retains all that sort of ability, but he's clearly had some sort of issues. He could go a very long way this Carnival if he does come back, and for that reason I'd be hoping he makes a mockery of this field, really, because there's so many with so much to prove in it. You got horses like Ross is pretty solid. He ran really well here last year and he's been ticking over nicely since. He's on a handy mark, but Wildcat Red and Frankie Four Fingers look out of sorts, or certainly Wildcat Red ran a poor race behind North America last time. Frankie Four Fingers doesn't look near the same horse that won the Almac Team Challenge rounds in 2015. Manasseh, like you said, Alex, has been disappointing. Mutu Athir with the dirt. Need to Know looked out of sorts since he won here in November. Alabaster ran poorly on his sole start at Maidan last year. Heavy Metal's rock solid and stuns up significantly in grade, up £10 as well. So I think most of them have question marks, bar Heavy Metal, and Ross are solid, and Tumbaga could be way too good for
them. Unbelievable. Do you echo those thoughts, Gary?
Completely, yeah. He took the words right out of my mouth with Frankie Four Fingers as well. Right on my notes, I put not the same horse anymore, and he just doesn't look it either. He's been well beat on his 2 runs this year. He can lead in his races, but no, he doesn't look well. He looks like he's gone at the game. Ross is entitled to improve for his reappearance. I know he was second here last year, but that Group 3 was second in. Oh dear, I don't think it was a very strong race. Heavy Metal's been very consistent this year, yet to be out the first 4, but blimey, he takes some driving along. Wildcat Red, he has to bounce back from that poor run. Alabaster, we know he'll be fit after his long absence, but I'm not completely convinced with him after that poor run here on his only start. Munasa has been disappointing this year. Stunned, as Callum points out, this is a big jump up in grade. Mutawathiwa, well, he handled the surface, and Need to Know's not looked the same horse since he won here, and that race rather fell apart, the race that he won in November. So Tumbaga's got the plum draw in stall 1. I know, crucially, that he does show good gate speed as well. Obviously, he's made all the running when he won at Chelmsford off a while, but that's not a concern with this show, because they've had plenty of horses already at the Carnival and some of the non-Carnival races as well. Acolyte, the one that won after a similar sort of break, having been off the track for quite some time. So 7-2. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't win. He's potentially probably the nap on the card, I would say, actually, even though he's been off for quite some time. At his current odds, he's probably the best bet on the card, I think.
We can't go saying nap, not after the last time. Yeah. I mean, I haven't really looked into this race with much detail. Obviously, the one I looked at straight away was Heavy Metal. But for me, I might have been a little bit swayed by Tumbaga comments, so we'll see how he works. And I quite like Stunned. Big price at 10-1. He was 14-1 earlier. So we'll have to see how he comes on for his run at Jebel Ali 48 days ago. And getting weight from everyone. So we'll look at the last race on the card. The Borealis and IPIC Group Company Handicap. Over 6 furlongs. Fit Yarn, obviously, one to watch here. Group 3 winner. And, I mean, he's out in stall 15, which isn't going to help him. But it might not really matter over the 6, would it, Gary?
I think he's got the perfect draw, actually, to be honest. I think you want to be high again. There's a bit of pace all over here, actually. Obviously, Final Venture made all the other day. He's drawn in stall 2. He can obviously lead in his races. Obviously, there was a few that were behind him that day, including Steady Pace, who thought probably perhaps should have won. Also in that race, Jamesy was 3rd. I think he's likely to get closer this time around as well. He doesn't win very often. That's the problem with Jamesy. We tipped him each way last time. He did what he had to do. He hit the frame. But listening to his trainer David Marnane interviewed before the race, he thought he'd very much need the run, and he shaped very well in the race, I thought. But it's a shame we've not got an extra runner for that 4th place, because I think we might need it, because this is quite competitive. Obviously, Final Venture's gone up for winning that race the other day. He's gone up £4 in the weights. Jungle Cat won this race last year off a £2 lower mark. Obviously, he ran in the group race on Super Saturday, was behind Fit Yarn, but was in front of Fit Yarn in the Alquas Sprint, and is fitted with cheek pieces for the first time. The runs got progressively sort of worse when he went back to the UK, but they were in fairly decent company. Baccarat won over this course and distance in February last year, had 7 runs in the UK after that. Second at Yarmouth when last seen. He's drawn in stall 10. And the other couple that I thought were interesting, Muwari is making his UAE debut for Mike de Kock, running in graded races in South Africa. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think he'll probably be entitled to improve for the run. And the other Mike de Kock runner who's going down in trip and can lead is Banadir, who's drawn in stall 13. Second here over 7 furlongs at the Carnival last year, and was 6th in handicap company, over 7 on his seasonal debut. For me, I think he gives a perfect lead into the race to Fit Yarn. He's sort of 10-11 to 1 Fit Yarn. I know I've always said he's a horse that I don't want to back at a shortish price, but he's, I think, at 11 to 1. I think he'll be there or thereabouts, to be perfectly honest, with stall 15 to help him. Obviously, he was 5th in the race last year. He pops up in his turn. He's shaped well on 2 runs so far this season. He was drawn on the wrong part of the track last time out and couldn't get to Final Venture and Co. So he's drawn in stall 15 this time, with Banadir hopefully to maybe give him a nice little lead. Fit Yarn would just about be my pick at 11 to 1, but I don't really like these sprints, as you know.
Yeah, Fit Yarn's down £1 for that loss to Final Venture. One probably to note here is Mr. Kirby's riding again for the Godolphin. I think this is his 2nd ride on the card, and he's riding Baccarat here for Charlie Appleby. Do you like this one at all, Callum?
Who was that? Sorry,
Baccarat. Mr. Kirby.
Baccarat. I think Jungle Cat's a much better chance in the Appleby yard. To be honest, it's similar to Ertugel. Ertugel ran off 116 and won a handicap impressively last time. Jungle Cat is a proven group horse that's off a mark of 109 here, and these handicaps are so tight knit, £8 between top and bottom, that the classy sort of horses, is, their class can really tell. And Jungle Cat last year was so impressive in this race last year. He absolutely bolted up off £3 lower. He then ran 2 cracking efforts over 5 furlongs, which isn't his optimum trip. He was touched off narrowly by Fit Yarn in the Maidan Sprint, and then ran a stormer when 4th in the Alquoz. Then went and proved himself back in Britain with a really good run in the Palace House when beaten by Profitable, and then a good 4th in the King's Stand. 2 lesser runs after that. I think he just went over the top a little after quite a busy period. But he's going to be right back on song here for me. Cheap pieces, I don't know, that tempered my enthusiasm a little bit. I think the draw's absolutely fine. I definitely agree with Kay, because you want to be drawn high still. I think that's been the general consensus for all the races over 5 and 6. In fact, the only horse that's kind of bucked the Trimmer's Acolyte, and I think that just goes to show how well handicapped that horse was on the day.
Yeah.
So Jungle Cat, I think, could be a standout bet here, really, because I didn't actually think it was that competitive when I was going through the field. The Final Venture Steady Pace form, I think, is pretty solid. They've gone at £4 and £3 respectively. I think they're going to be knocking on the door again, but they're drawn in 1 and 2. So I think that kind of put me off them a little bit. Baccarat, I think, solid. Won over course and distance last year. He's been a little bit inconsistent since, but he ran a good race in the Greats and Wilford. I think it's his best effort since. And James, he's going to be knocking on the door, and likewise Fit Yarn. But they're not horses that win too often. I think Fit Yarn's high enough in the weights. Jamesy, he's a 9-year-old now, and he's probably a little bit better over 7. I thought he got outpaced a little bit behind Final Venture and Steady Pace, and I can see the same happening again. And it just falls down to Jungle Cat, really. I thought he was a potentially real standout bet here. And yeah, I think he could really show his class.
Yeah. You say there's not been many winners from here. I've just gone through each of the 15, and there's only 7 wins out of the 15, and like 2 of them are on each other horses. So yeah, I thought it was quite a tough one. As Gary pointed out, David Marnane talked about Jamesy before and how he would need the run. So I think he'd obviously have place claims again, considering what he's done. And I haven't really got a pick for this one. I'm still trying to figure out what I've got, but we'll work from there. Yeah, so that rounds it up for Maidan on Thursday. Have either of you looked at Saturday at all?
Briefly, thought Classic Collection was very interesting for Godolphin in the 5th race. I think he'll be tough to beat, albeit Town's History's in that race, and Barutu both won quite impressive last time out, but off a mark of 96, there's a fair chance Classic Collection will prove very well handicapped, I think.
Yeah, you
It's
always
a
have
good
to
race,
look at...
actually. There's a couple that I think will have handicap consequences. I think definitely the last race and that race definitely interesting, aren't they?
Yeah, I thought Artway is interesting back on the turf as well. But
Yeah.
He's got top weight to shoulder in the final race, but he was obviously 5th in the Fanciful Angel handicap. Obviously, he was 3rd behind Forjat in the Jebel Ali Mile last week as well. So I think he's quite interesting, to be honest. But again, full 16 in that race, he's drawn in 11, which would probably put me off a little bit. There's a turf maiden as well that I didn't think was particularly strong, I have to admit. Albeit there's plenty of runners in it, but I didn't think there was anything that stood out, and that looked a bit right for an upset, actually. It's a shame Rashid Rashid has got one in it, but I don't think that'll be winning.
Yeah, you like Rashid Borsley on the turf, we know.
That's right.
I
thought Enery had probably hit the frame in the 11 furlong race. They went no gallop over that course of distance last time out. I think he was 3rd in this. Pretty sure I tipped him in this race last year. He was 3rd. I think with more, mind you, it was a bit of concern to see Fernando O'Hara's jump ship, and he might be banned actually, Fernando, because I don't think he's not riding Enery anyway. He usually does, but yeah, he's in the 6th race on the card.
Yeah, he's not in that race for some reason. He's in the 7th on Artwave, so yeah. I like Outer Wheel in the first. Regally bred, Forzinas. Didn't show much at Jebel Ali, but this looks a much easier assignment. Even if Syncopation is back in this one with a mark of 75. And then you got Milton in the 2nd, who I think should run a good race there. Have you not had a look, Callum?
Not in real depth. I'm really interested in that 5th race because that looks very strong. There's a couple of mean, not Billingsgate, sorry, Brereton Town's history were both really impressive last time, so they could easily be rated over 100 at some point. And like Caber's mentioned, Classic Collection, Mutasaid's another interesting one. So that's and Ijmali as well, actually. So some really interesting horses in that race.
Lovely. Are we going to go for a nap this week or not at all? No. Should we leave that alone and see?
We'll leave that till next week. Yeah. Doesn't strike me as a very nappable card.
And then the week after that as well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just get rid of naps, okay?
Nap selections. Okay. Well, that about wraps it up for the two Meydan cards that we've looked into ever so much more depth than we normally do, especially the ones on Saturday. Thank you to Callum and thank you to Gary.
Pleasure.
And I hope you all have a fantastic night at Meydan. Tschüss, later, a day.